The day humanity captured Timea true. Astonishing story of how the clock changed civilization. Prologue. Before time had a face, there was a time when humanity did not know time. They felt it. They feared it. They worshipped it. The sun rose. The sun set. Seasons shifted. Crops grew. Empires rose and collapsed. But no one could say, "It is 3:27 p.m." because the clock did not yet exist. And yet, the story of the clock is not just about gears and springs. It is the story of civilization itself. The first clock was the sky. Ancient Egypt, around 3500 BCE, long before America existed. Long before Rome, London, or Beijing. The ancient Egyptians were already obsessed with the sun. In the blazing deserts near the Nile River, they planted tall stone pillars called obelisks. These massive structures acted as the earliest timekeepers. As the sun moved across the sky, shadows shifted, and for the first time in history, humans began dividing the day into parts. This was the sundial, humanity's first real attempt to measure time. But the sundial had a flaw. It only worked when the sun was shining. At night, on cloudy days, time disappeared. Water that measured the universe. Ancient Egypt and Babylon -1500 BCE. The next breakthrough came not from stone, but from water. The water clock, known as a clepsydra, slowly dripped water from one container to another. Marks inside the vessel indicated passing hours. Now time could be measured at night. Now time could exist indoors. This changed everything. Courts could regulate speaking time. Astronomers could track stars. Priests could perform rituals at precise moments. Time was no longer only in the sky. It was in human hands. Rome organizes time. The Romans were practical, ruthless, organized. They improved sundials and spread them across their empire. Public timekeeping became a civic feature. Imagine walking through ancient Rome and seeing a public sundial in the Forum. For the first time, society began coordinating around shared hours, work, military drills, political speeches. Time became power. And power required precision. The mechanical revolution begins. Medieval Europe, 13th century. Then came one of the greatest technological breakthroughs in human history. The mechanical clock. Around the late 1200s in Europe, likely in monasteries in England or Italy, engineers developed a mechanism using gears and weights. No sun, no water. Just gravity, gears, and escapements. These early clocks were massive iron machines placed in church towers. They didn't have minute hands. They didn't even have faces. They simply rang bells. But those bells controlled cities. Work began. When bells rang, markets opened. Curfews were enforced. For the first time, time ruled society, not nature. The pendulum that changed the world. Christiaan Huygens, 1656. The Netherlands' precision was still a problem. Mechanical clocks drifted. Then came a genius. Christiaan Huygens in 1656. Huygens invented the pendulum clock. The swinging pendulum created consistent intervals. Accuracy improved dramatically, from hours per day error to seconds. This breakthrough revolutionized astronomy, navigation, scientific experiments, and navigation was critical. Because at sea, determining longitude required precise timekeeping. And that leads us to one of the most dramatic clock stories in history. The man who solved the longitude crisis. John Harrison, 1700s. England sailors were dying. Ships were wrecking because no one could calculate longitude accurately at sea. The British government offered a massive reward. Enter John Harrison, a self-taught carpenter turned clockmaker. He spent decades building marine chronometers that could survive storms and temperature shifts. His fourth model, H4, worked to change navigation forever. It helped build empires and indirectly shaped the rise of what would become the United States. Because maritime dominance shaped colonial expansion. Time shaped history. America and the industrial clock. Fast forward to the 1800s. The United States is industrializing. Railroads stretch across the continent. Factories roar. But there's a problem. Each city keeps its own local time. When trains begin crossing states, chaos erupts. Two trains on one track. Different clocks. Collision risk. So in 1883, American railroads created standard time zones. Later adopted nationally, time became unified. The clock became infrastructure, without synchronized time. Wall Street could not function. The U.S. military could not coordinate. Air travel would collapse. Modern America runs on synchronized seconds. The wristwatch revolution, World War I, early 1900 Spocket. Watches were common, but soldiers in trenches couldn't pull them out easily. So wristwatches gained popularity during World War I. Suddenly time was worn on the body. Time became personal. Brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe had mixtured watches into status symbols. In America, watches represented discipline, professionalism, success. Time is money, and nowhere was that more true than the United States. The quartz shock, 1969. Japan. Then came a shockwave. Seiko released the first quartz wristwatch. Instead of gears and springs, it used vibrating quartz crystals powered by battery. It was more accurate, cheaper, easier to mass produce. The Swiss watch industry nearly collapsed. The world shifted from mechanical elegance to electronic precision. Time entered the digital age. Atomic time. The most accurate clock ever built today. The most accurate clocks are atomic clocks. They measure vibrations of atoms, typically cesium. They are accurate to within billionths of a second. Without atomic clocks, GPS would fail. Internet synchronization would collapse. Financial trading systems would malfunction. U.S. military precision weapons would not function. Every smartphone in America depends on atomic time. You may not see it, but you live by it. Types of clocks throughout history. Humanity has created many types. Sundial, water clock, candle clock, mechanical clock, pendulum clock, marine chronometer, pocket watch, wristwatch, quartz clock, digital clock, atomic clock, smartwatch. Each stage reshaped society. The most powerful clock today? The clock inside your smartphone. Not the tower. Not the wrist. The network. Coordinated universal time. Financial markets, open and closed by it. NASA launches rockets by it. The U.S. stock market trades by microsections. Time has become invisible, but it controls everything. Epilogue. The greatest invention was not the clock. The clock did not create time. It created discipline. Industry. Synchronization. Modern civilization. Without the clock, there is no industrial revolution. No railroad expansion. No Wall Street. No Silicon Valley. The clock did not just measure history. It built it. When time became a weapon, the railroad that forced America to obey the clock in the early 1800s, the United States did not run on one time. It ran on hundreds. Every town set its clocks by the sun. Noon meant the moment the sun stood highest in that town, not the next one. When travel was slow, this didn't matter. But then the railroads came. Steel tracks stitched together cities like New York City, Chicago, and San Francisco. Trains began moving faster than the sun itself, and suddenly, time differences were deadly. If one conductor's watch was 4 minutes off from another's, two trains could meet on the same track at full speed. Chaos mounted. So on November 18, 1883, the American railroads did something radical. They divided the nation into 4 standard time zones. Not by government order, not by Congress, but by industry. Only later would the federal government formalize it, through the Standard Time Act of 1918. For the first time, America surrendered local time to national synchronization. The clock had become authority. The factory whistle and the death of natural time. Before industrialization, people worked by daylight and seasons. Farmers rose with the sun, rested when tired, worked according to weather, but factories demanded precision. Workers in cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh no longer followed nature, they followed whistles. 8 a.m. meant start. 12 p.m. meant lunch. 5 p.m. meant stop. Late meant lost wages. Time became measurable labor. And nowhere was this more visible than in the assembly lines of Ford Motor Company. Under Henry Ford, production was broken into seconds. Efficiency studies measured every motion. Productivity became a function of time. In America, the phrase, time is money, stopped being metaphor. It became economic law. War runs on seconds by the 20th century. Timing was no longer about bells or whistles. It was about survival. During World War I and World War II, synchronized time meant coordinated attacks. In the United States military, operations depended on precision timing across oceans. When Allied forces stormed Normandy on D-Day, coordination relied on synchronized watches. Miss by minutes, and entire battalions could be isolated. Later, during the Cold War, timekeeping became even more critical. Intercontinental ballistic missiles required split-second synchronization. Radar systems needed perfect timing. Nuclear deterrence depended on clocks. Time was no longer just organized, it was weaponized. The atomic clock and the birth of invisible power. In 1949, the United States built one of the first atomic clocks at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Instead of gears or quartz crystals, atomic clocks measured vibrations of cesium atoms. Their accuracy? Off by less than a second in millions of years. This precision created GPS navigation, satellite communication, internet synchronization, frequency stock trading. Without atomic clocks, the GPS in your car would drift miles off course within hours. Every smartphone in America quietly connects to atomic time. Time became invisible. Infrastructure. You don't see it, but it governs your maps, your bank transfers, your phone calls. Wall Street and the war of microseconds. In the 21st century, time turned microscopic. On New York Stock Exchange trading floors and digital servers, firms compete in microseconds, millionths of a second. High-frequency trading firms invest billions to reduce latency by fractions of time. Fiber optic cables are laid straighter. Servers are moved closer. Algorithms execute trades faster than human thought. In finance, speed equals profit. The fastest clock wins. Time is no longer measured in hours. It's measured in microseconds worth millions of dollars. Silicon Valley. And the death of waiting in places like San Jose and across Silicon Valley. Technology companies redefined human expectation. Instant messaging. One-day shipping. Streaming without buffering. Companies like Apple Inc. and Google build ecosystems around seamless synchronization. We now live in real time. Emails arrive instantly. News spreads globally in seconds. Markets react in milliseconds. Human patience has shrunk. The clock didn't just measure life. It accelerated it. The smartwatch, time returns to the body ironically. As time became global and digital, it also became personal again. Smartwatches emerged. Companies like Apple Inc. introduced devices that track heart rate, sleep cycles, exercise notifications. Time now monitors you, your pulse, your stress, your steps. The clock no longer just tells time. It tells you about yourself. Time and space. And NASA relies on ultra-precise clocks for deep space missions. Without synchronized timing, spacecraft navigation fails. When astronauts travel at high speeds, Einstein's theory of relativity becomes measurable. Time literally moves differently in orbit. The clock is no longer Earth-bound. It governs space exploration. The psychological cost of precision, but there is a shadow. Anxiety rises in hyper-scheduled societies. Burnout increases. Productivity pressure intensifies. America's obsession with efficiency has consequences. The same clock that built industry now governs attention spans. Notifications every second. Deadlines every hour. The weaponization of time now affects mental health. The future. When clocks disappear, artificial intelligence systems operate continuously. Global networks synchronize automatically. Quantum clocks, even more precise than atomic clocks, are being developed. One day, visible clocks may disappear entirely. Time will be embedded into everything. Invisible, automatic, absolute, final reflection. Did we master time, or did it master us? The story of the clock is not just about invention. It is about control. From Egyptian shadows to medieval bells to atomic vibrations to microsecond trading, time evolved from nature to machine to weapon to algorithm. And nowhere has that evolution been more dramatic than in the United States. where infrastructure, military power, finance, and technology all depend on synchronized seconds. We believed we were measuring time. But perhaps time has been measuring us. The invention that rewrote civilization. The story of the clock is not merely a tale of gears, springs, quartz crystals, or atomic vibrations. It is the story of humanity's attempt to control the uncontrollable. From the shadow casting obelisks of ancient Egypt, to medieval church towers ringing iron bells, to the pendulum perfected by Christiaan Huygens, to the marine chronometers engineered by John Harrison, to atomic precision developed by institutions like National Institute of Standards and Technology. Every stage of timekeeping reshaped society. But nowhere did the clock's power accelerate more dramatically than in the United States. Standardized time zones transformed railroads into national arteries. Factory clocks powered the Industrial Revolution. Military synchronization influenced global conflicts. Atomic clocks enabled GPS and digital infrastructure. Financial markets at the New York Stock Exchange measure wealth in microseconds. Technology. Giants like Apple Inc. embedded time into the human wrist. Time is now infrastructure. It is currency. It is strategy. It is data. The clock did more than measure the day. It reorganized civilization. Without precise timekeeping, there would be no synchronized railroads. No global aviation networks. No satellite navigation. No internet. No high-speed financial markets. No coordinated global economy. The clock made industrial society possible. Atomic time made digital society inevitable. Yet there is an irony at the heart of this story. For thousands of years, humans tried to measure time. But in doing so, we built systems that measure us. Deadlines measure productivity. Timestamps measure communication. Algorithms measure engagement. Markets measure reaction speed. The invention that began as a tool for tracking daylight became the framework of modern life. We once looked to the sky to understand time. Now we look at screens. We once moved with the rhythm of seasons. Now we move with the rhythm of notifications. And still, the clock keeps ticking. From ancient sundials to quantum research laboratories. From village bells to synchronized global networks. The clock is not just one of humanity's greatest inventions. It may be the invisible engine of modern civilization itself. Because in the end, capturing time was not about knowing the hour. It was about building a world where billions of people could move together, precisely, predictably, and powerfully in the same second. And that second changed everything.